The number one thing missing from too many churches is biblical literacy. And it's not a congregation's fault wholly or entirely that they can't trust the Bible. Too many times I find, as others do, that the preaching just isn't good. And that's sad. Too many times pastors or preachers use uninspiring speech devices or total eisegesis, or even speak in veiled political rhetoric. Topical sermons are performed shallowly with a surface level understanding, with ignorance of the text context or its literary devices, and can often lead to talking more about the circumstance outside the Bible than in it, where pastors often talk in circles or about peripheral phenomena that simply aren't mentioned or even considered in the text. And expository sermons, while informative when it comes to the text verbatim, can still miss some of the Bible's literary devices, and they themselves aren't free from suffering from eisegesis or misinterpretation. And this is all the while done using empty Christianese rhetoric, sounding more like a motivational speaker than someone who's really revealing the truth of the Bible. Now, some clergy are ignorant of this. Others simply need to work on being better communicators. However, some, like false teachers, have bad intentions. And yet others don't care because they think things are going all right in their church. Maybe their church is growing, or perhaps they don't get any negative feedback. The problem comes when you ask your congregation, and this is a good question to ask, can you name 20 figures in the Old Testament? And unfortunately for too many people, that's way harder than it should be. The truth of the Bible and its insights are so widely available. The text is on bookshelves all over the world. And so we're in this time and condition where the Bible itself is so democratized. It has grown so much in availability, but the quality of preaching hasn't. If your church doesn't offer an edifying experience, not an affirming experience, but an edifying experience, you're missing the mark. And what that leads to is this: if you fail to keep the Bible, especially the Tanakh, unfortunately, too few churches preach with great quality over the Tanakh. If you fail to keep the Bible relevant, your church will have zero biblical literacy. If they do not find the Bible profound and revelatory, they will not have any biblical literacy. If you fail to keep the Bible relevant, they'll leave your congregation for something like this: a Book of Mormon, or worse, a Quran, simply because their believers are better at making it seem like their literature is profound and revelatory. And I'll say this for myself: if I did want to read a religious book that wasn't profound or revelatory, I'd read the Quran. There's an idiom or expression in the South, especially around church and musical instruments, and it's that a really good player of an instrument, especially an organ, can make it talk. You need to make this talk. Like, this should sprout with insights. That's how profound this should be. It should sprout with insights, and that should be your goal, right? As a clergyman, whatsoever you are. So I implore you, make it sprout. Don't take your congregants for granted. Do the Bible justice.